Are you tired of guessing if your barbecue is perfectly cooked? A few degrees can make the difference between something that is tender and juicy and a dried out disaster. Today, I'm going to go over one of the secrets to having perfectly cooked food every single time, and that is a well calibrated food thermometer. I'm going to show you how to check yours and help you grill with confidence. Having a good instant read thermometer is a critical tool in any barbecue tool belt because it allows you to get consistent results by making sure you cook things to the same doneness every single time. You can't rely on other tricks like cutting meat open to be able to tell if it's done. That's not very reliable and it can dry out the meat. Instead, check the temperature of the food to make sure that it's done the way that you like it, and that'll help you get consistent results. But if your thermometer isn't reading correctly, those readings are absolutely worthless, and that's a big reason why I travel with my own meat thermometer. And the first method for checking your thermometer is the ice bath method. And to do that, you're going to fill a container with crushed ice, then add water up to about a half an inch below the top of the ice. And that helps ensure that the water is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if you add too much water, that ice is going to start to float and you're going to have a big dead spot at the bottom, and that water won't be at 32. It'll mess up the entire test. So it's really important that you do it this way. To avoid inaccurate readings, make sure that you move that probe around in the ice bath, and that'll help avoid keeping it from resting on the side, the bottom, or directly on the ice. That'll absolutely impact the reading that you get. If you do this test correctly and your thermometer is accurate, it should read 32 degrees Fahrenheit inside of that ice bath. But all thermometers come with a plus or minus tolerance range, so you want to make sure that it's within that range. So if your thermometer says it's accurate to plus or minus 1 degree Fahrenheit, it should read between 31 and 33 degrees Fahrenheit. And if it's in that range, it's as accurate as it can be. You don't have to mess with it, just go ahead and leave it. But if it's outside of that range, you're going to want to adjust it through the calibration. It's different for every thermometer, and then test it again just to make sure that you did it right and didn't go the wrong direction. And if your thermometer doesn't support calibration, you can just do some mental math when you use it, and if it's way off, you might consider getting a new one. In my case, I'm using the Thermopen 1 from Thermoworks, and it's supposed to be accurate within a half a degree Fahrenheit. That's about what I saw in this test. All my other less expensive thermometers were also within their tolerance as well, which means they can all be trusted. Using the ice bath method gives you one point of reference, but you're going to end up cooking over a range of temperatures, so it's also good to do one at the high end, and that's the boiling water test. However, despite what you learned in high school, water does not boil at 212 degrees Fahrenheit in most places. It depends on a lot of different factors, the biggest one being altitude. In my case, I live at 4,700 feet and water boils around 203 degrees Fahrenheit. To make things just a little bit more complicated, it can also be impacted by the barometric pressure, which is directly related to the weather. In my case, a storm rolled through and the difference between the lowest point and the highest point in the day was 1 degree Fahrenheit for the boiling temperature. So it's really good to check before you do this test that you know what temperature you're shooting for your area for that weather that day. There's a tool for that from Thermoworks. They have a calculator you can put in your elevation as well as the pressure, and it'll kick out the temperature which water should be boiling at your house at that time. So for my weather at my house today, the temperature I'm shooting for is 203.5 degrees Fahrenheit for the current boiling point. In order to be able to test that, you get water to a full boil, not a simmer. It has to be boiling about as hard as it can go. Then you do the same thing with the probe. You stir it around, making sure you don't put it and rest it on the bottom of the pot. Otherwise, your temperature will read much higher. So what do you do if the results of the ice water test and the boiling water test don't match up? You can take the differences between the two and average them, and that will give you the best between both of those. However, if your boiling water temperature is way off, you might have messed up that test because the ice bath method is much easier to do correctly and relies on fewer variables. So if you're in a pinch, just go ahead and use the ice bath method and you should get pretty good results.